And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 4, episode 9. We're 9 episodes into this season, and we have not even played a basketball game yet. So we're off to a great start. This is a really cool episode here in advance of the Illinois Wesleyan game at Illinois State, which is a fairly monumental, historic thing. I thought it would be so cool to talk to Ryan Pedon, the head men's basketball coach of the Illinois State Redbirds. And Ryan, this is a great time of year because, we're about to start the hoop season. You got a game this week. So on Sunday, you get a tune-up game. How are you doing? How are the Redbirds doing? It's great to meet you.
Hey, great being with you, Bob. And first of all, thanks for having us on here, number one. And number two, thanks for everything you do for Division III hoops. I'm a D3 guy at my very core. And, I realize sometimes the lack of notoriety on the national level that the D3 guys can get. And it's awesome that you're doing this. So I'm happy to help in any way I can. So, but yeah, it's exciting time of year, for coaches, for players, for fans. These are the days that you sort of work up to all year long. And now you're into a game week. So we're off tomorrow, and then we're in game prep with Illinois Wesleyan, and looking forward to a great matchup against them. And, us both being here from the Bloomington-Normal community, this is a special place. And I know this game is going to mean a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, let's kind of start there a little bit. You're in your second year as the head coach of the Redbirds. You were at Ohio State as an assistant, I think, for 5 seasons before that. I lived in Bloomington-Normal. I'm in Dallas, Texas now, but I lived in Bloomington a long time. I went to college at Illinois Wesleyan, and then I lived in town for, parts of 16 more years after that. So it's a very special place to me. I love going back. I'm from Chicago, but I kind of call Bloomington home half the time, right? As Bloomington feels like home to me. What's the Bloomington-Normal community been like to you in your now, 2 years in town?
It's been awesome. I'd heard great things about this area. I've lived in this region before. So I was in Champaign for 2 years, from 2013 to 15. So I was familiar with how important basketball is in this region. But being here in this community, being a part of it for the last 18 months, this is an unbelievable community. And the people are at the heart of that. We built so many really meaningful friendships and relationships, probably more so than anywhere I've lived, to be honest with you, in 18 months. And I'm very thankful for that. There's all kinds of, families. There's all kinds of older retired folks here in town. There's the college contingent. And then you have a real working class here that I think is really untapped in a lot of ways. A lot of the people in that working class move in from State Farm or Country Financial or now Rivian.
Yep.
So it's a booming community, 170,000 people here in the Bloomington-Normal area. The Redbirds are a big deal here.
Yep.
Basketball is a big deal here. And I know how important Illinois Wesleyan is to our community as well. So it means a lot to us that we live here, that we're a part of the fabric of our community, and hopefully making an impact in more ways than one.
The Redbirds are such a big part of the Bloomington-Normal community, as you just mentioned. And I have so many friends that are Redbirds and that don't miss a football game and don't miss a basketball game. And my buddy Andy Hendricks texted me a couple of days ago saying we're meeting up before the game and we'll do a little tailgating. And it's just exciting to get to connect with all the Redbird fans around this. But the community really backs the Redbirds, coach. And I know that you felt that so far. I mean, when ISU basketball has things rolling there at SEFCU Arena, it is an amazing environment. What's that been like so far, as kind of immersing yourself in that Redbird basketball family?
Well, first of all, they've been all very welcoming to us, right? So much history and tradition here. What basketball means in our community, it's a big deal. And the desire of the people here to get it back to where we all feel it rightfully belongs, and that's being a championship contender on a year-to-year basis. And that takes hard work. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of effort from a lot of people. I've been very clear since we got here, Bob, about the vision that we have, the clarity of our vision, and that it very much involves our community. I don't think under any circumstance that we're going to become the program we want to be without our community playing a major role in that. And it's what you just said, right? Like you're talking, I've had probably 100 conversations similar to what you just said, how important Redbird basketball is to this community. And when it's rolling, everything else is rolling and falling behind. And then on top of that, you've probably been to some games here where
I have
10,000 people are in the building.
Yep.
Okay. And that's where we've got to get it back to. And that's a process that takes a little bit of time and a lot of hard work. But I'm really intrigued and excited and just really fired up heading into year 2 about, the direction and the trajectory that we're taking. So the fabric of our community will play a major role, I believe, in our ultimate success and hopefully where we hopefully take this thing in a short time.
And then if you expand the geography a little bit and just Illinois and the surrounding states, what a hotbed of basketball that you have to recruit from just locally. And I know that you're not just locally recruiting, but when you think of the talent in Chicago, but then all of Illinois, central Illinois, southern Illinois, when you think about the talent, when you cross state lines into Wisconsin and Indiana, et cetera, you got to feel great, Coach, about the talent pool that geographically is pretty darn close to you.
Yeah, it's one of the things that made this job so attractive. I think there's a lot of factors that you evaluate when you're looking at a job or you're pursuing a job. And, the campus, the community, the tradition and history, the facilities, but the region that you have to recruit from as well. And, where could be better, I guess, would be my question that I kept coming back to myself and asking, like, where would you rather be than here? You're 2 hours from Chicago, you're 2 from Indianapolis, you're 2 from 215 from St. Louis, and you've got the whole state of Illinois to recruit from, which is as well coached of a state as there is in America. And then you throw in the fact that I've been a product of this region. I'm a product of the Midwest, and I'm proud of it. I believe in basketball, how it's played and how it's coached, and the blue collar approach and how important it is in this region. I've coached going in 23 years. I'm my 23rd year right now. And I've coached in 3 states, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. And I'm really proud of that. And I think that can pay dividends for us and for our staff as we're building this thing in years to come. But there's a familiarity, a belief, and really a vision for how we want to build this program. I'd love for 80 to 90% of our roster to be from this Midwest region. And I think if we're doing our job, we'll be right in there with the right recruits. And if you stack those classes on top of one another, now you're talking about building a sustained program.
Want to go back a little bit, talk about your basketball roots. We would be having this conversation regardless of where you went to college. But the great thing about this is it ties into the QCast. You're a Division III grad, and not just a Division III grad. When you list the all-time great men's basketball programs in Division III, you very quickly list the College of Wooster. Yeah. And if you were to start listing the greatest coaches of all time in Division III, you would get very quickly to Steve Moore. Now that Dave Hickson is in the Hall of Fame from Amherst, I keep thinking, like, who's the next D3 guy that they start looking at? And I got to believe that Coach Moore is somewhere on a short list. Talk about, if you would, Ryan, your experiences playing at Wooster and playing for Steve Moore.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw in there Al Van Wee too, because Al Van Wee was before my time, but, really put Wooster on the map in so many ways in the past. So playing for Coach Moore, he's the reason I went to Wooster, right? He had built a program. I wanted to be a part of a program that was winning and was going to win and was going to be accustomed to winning. And then when you get to meet Coach Moore, his intensity, I loved his competitiveness. I loved just the way he, he coaches a program and coached a program for years and years that had high level values associated with the program. So you're doing things a certain way that makes sense and made sense to me and my family. And I'm so thankful to have been around so many great coaches in my lifetime, and not a day goes by that I don't appreciate that. At the very start of my journey, other than my high school coach, Coach Moore is at the front of that line. I was impacted by Gene Millard, who's a Hall of Fame high school coach in Ohio. But when I played for Coach Moore and went from really being a young man into a man and learning more about the game and learning how to deal with adversity and some of the things that you face for the first time as a 18 or 19-year-old, like if I didn't have a mentor and a role model and a coach that I could lean on like I did Coach Moore, I wouldn't be where I am today. And he spurred my love for the game, my love for coaching, and he impacted me in so many ways as a player, as a man, and ultimately now as a professional. So I'm indebted to Coach Moore for life. I love him like a father, and I couldn't say anything more about him that would indicate my love for him. So I just great admiration, and I'm very thankful.
Coach Moore, for those that aren't as familiar, 39 years as a coach. That's across two different places. He was at Muhlenberg before Wooster. He won 867 games. So I'm going to say that again, 867. He was at Wooster for 33 years, and he went 780 and 186. He went to 28 NCAA tournaments, and he won the NCAC 18 times. That was when you were there. You graduated in what, 2000. Worcester was battling Wittenberg year in and year out. Worcester Wittenberg, great rivalry. You went to a couple Sweet 16s. I believe your junior year you ended up facing Hampton Sydney in the Sweet 16, and then you went through the eventual national champ Calvin in 2000. That was a powerhouse team. What are your recollections of those tournament runs that you guys had your junior and senior year?
Yeah, I mean, I lean on this a lot. We were 96 and 16. I was a part of teams that were 96 and 16 over a 4-year career. Not many guys can say that, right? And I affected exactly 0 of those 96 wins. Okay, so without me, the program would have gone 96 and 16. I'm very well aware of that. But I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that. The tournament runs, they were never as long as you want them to be. I felt like, there was one year where we were the 1 seed, and we would have been hosting all the way to Virginia, and we lost at home to John Carroll, really well coached team, Mike Moran, and we lost at home. And that's a game that I think that sort of the stars were aligning for us. We would have had a real home court advantage there all the way through the tournament, and we lost that. The other years, Hampton Sydney, they were rolling. That was a unbelievable environment to go into, and they beat us. I think they beat us by 8 or 10. And then when we played up at Calvin, they were number 2 team in the country. I think we were number 3 at the time, and of course we had to play at their place in the Sweet 16. What bad luck there. And I think they ended up, I don't know if did they win it or they lost in the finals that year? I think maybe.
Calvin won it that year. Calvin won it the year that they got you in the Sweet 16. Yeah, they were a powerhouse.
They were loaded. And they were the best team in the country. So never as long as you'd want the tournament runs to be. But so many great memories and experiences that we had through the 4 years that we were there.
What was it like last year? I think it was just like a year ago, this game, I believe, when you had your alma mater come to play the Redbirds. And I believe Coach Moore was able to make that trip. That must have been a pretty darn cool experience all the way around. Talk a little bit about that game versus Wooster last year.
Yeah, it was really special. So it was important to me for a variety of reasons that in my first game as a head coach, being able to bring back my alma mater and to play them I realize what that does for a program, Division III program. That's a great opportunity. And those are games I never forgot as a student athlete. I remember playing Harvard. I remember playing Akron a couple times, and those are memories you'll have for life. So I was well aware that, was fortunate 8 years ago now, when I was at Ohio State, our first year at Ohio State. Our boss, I went into him and I pleaded my case to him, and he went with it. But we played Wooster when I was at Ohio State as well.
Awesome.
And that was so cool, man. That was so cool to look down there. And Doug Klein was coaching, and he was my assistant coach. Coach Moore was on the bench. He was my college coach. And then at the end of the baseline, I looked in my peripheral vision. I remember seeing my high school coach, and he had floor seats for that game at Ohio State. So that was my first ever game at Ohio State. So being able to pay back to Wooster just a little bit, a small token for one night of what they gave to me as a man and as a person. And I wouldn't be the same if it weren't for my experience at Wooster. And, I think giving back and paying forward, I think as you go through life and you get older, those moments become more and more meaningful to us as human beings. And so, yeah, it was very special.
Well, we'll kind of get back to D3 and stuff in just a second when we talk about the matchup with the Titans. But when as the D3 community, when a D3 guy, D3 woman does great things, there's an enormous sense of pride in that community. So you getting the Illinois State job, that was a big deal floating around the D3 hoop circle. And so everyone's very excited that you're there. And I think you're the right guy at the right time in the right place. Let's talk about your team for a second. It's such a challenging thing in today's environment to build a program, rebuild the program, whatever the right words are. You've got some really good pieces returning this year. Darius Burford, who averaged 13, 4, and 3 last year, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Kendall Lewis, who's a 6'8" forward, averaged 12 and 6 last year. Malachi Poindexter, 6'3" senior guard, averages 9, 2, and 2 last year. Yeah. You've got some other returners too. I just wanted to start there with, you got to feel pretty good, Ryan, about the nucleus that you have coming back and kind of the leadership that group provides to you coming in. And then we'll get to some of the newcomers, but how do you feel about kind of your group coming back?
Well, I feel really excited about our team. I really do. 5 of our top 6 leading scorers return. We lost a lot of close games last year. We didn't have a pure point guard on our roster, and to no fault of the young men that were manning the point, but they hadn't been thrust into that role in their at their previous stops. And so in some ways, maybe asking them to do some things that were a little bit unfair. We do have 2 point guards this year. One's a freshman and one's a transfer, and will allow us to be a little bit more creative there in terms of our backcourt. But I'm really excited. We have a core group of 7 guys that do return, and those are guys that know how we operate. They know what our values are. They know what's important to coach. They know the things that are going to help us win games through our lens, right? And philosophically, from a coaching standpoint, that matters. That's regenerative leadership that can hopefully regenerate itself year after year after year. And just having a stable of guys that can do that and lead through example and through knowledge and experience, that's important. So we got 7 new guys on our roster, though. Right. That's a part. I just had a meeting with our athletic director today, and we can't control everything, right? Some of it you can, some of it you can't in this era. But 7's a high number for me. That's a high number, and I think when you're rebuilding a program and rebooting it, you're going to have some natural turnover in year 1, and then Right. You're going to have residual turnover in year 2. And I think that's been pretty par for the course. Moving forward, I want to give these guys the best experience that they can here, and that they want to stay. I want to give Right. them an atmosphere and an environment where they feel like they're growing and that they're learning and that they're prospering as people, players, students, and athletes. So, it's an exciting time. I think people are I mean, I'm not going to say the opposite. I'm the coach here, but I think the people are sleeping on us a little bit, and it's on us to go prove them wrong, and we got to get back to the winning ways here, and it's going to require everybody, but I'm really looking forward to the challenge with this team.
Some of those newcomers, and in this era that we're in with the COVID fifth year and with the transfer portal, I don't see how a coach could avoid leveraging opportunities in the transfer portal. But boy, you've got a nice group that you've infused into the mix here. A few of those names: Brandon Lieb from the Illini, I believe, was he Deerfield? I think Deerfield High School.
Yeah, you're right on. Yeah,
Deerfield. Dalton Banks from the Salukis. I think he's one of those point guards that you mentioned.
Yep.
Miles Foster from Monmouth, 6'7" forward, and Jordan Banks from Wisconsin.
Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis. Yeah, from Wisconsin. You got to feel good about that infusion of experienced talent coming to join your returning guys and then your freshmen. Is that fair to say, Ryan?
Very fair to say, Q. Yeah, we're really excited. I think when you have an ability to go recruit in the portal, you got to be very pointed with what you're looking for, right? And I try to be as transparent and straightforward and truthful as we can be. I'm not into going with the used car salesman approach. I don't think that sets up well long-term for us or for the recruiter, his family. I want there to be a natural need and desire by that recruit to fill the need, fill the hole, plug the gap that we need. And these guys, I think, are guys that, number one, care about winning. Okay. That's important to me. And I want guys that care about winning, that want to win, that have a chip on their shoulder, and also want to be coached. Okay. So I just mentioned 3 or 4 characteristics there that not every kid in the portal has. So we've got to do a great job on the front end of asking all the right questions, digging deeper, trying to find out what their desires are. What are they looking for? A lot of them are looking for a place where they can get stats, where they can pad their stats and prosper professionally. And I want guys that want to play professionally. There's a balance in our sport, though. Sacrifice versus winning, and sometimes those don't always align the way that every recruit would want. And, okay, at that moment when reality sets in, what kind of teammate is he? Does he care about winning or does he not? Why is he here? Does he believe in this? Does he want to be coached? Does he want to be a part of something that's really special and bigger than himself? Those are things we got to know on the front end. So, recruiting the portal could be a whole new podcast for you in the spring. That would be a great one, Q. Yeah, you could dive in and find out different philosophies, but that's my philosophy, because I think if you get one guy that is not going to align with the values that most all the guys in your program or in your locker room have, man, that can poison the well. So we're very aware of that, and I try to preempt that with real transparency on the front end.
And then just one more question about your personnel. We don't have time to get to all the freshmen, but just a couple of guys that jump out to me is you got the Mr. Basketball in Wisconsin on your roster, right? Johnny Kinzinger, who's a 5'11" guard from De Pere. I was just glad to know he wasn't going to like Wisconsin Oshkosh or Stevens Point. So anytime I see a Wisconsin kid, I'm just rooting for him to go somewhere else. In all seriousness, he really looks like a talented player. Another guy you got that raised a lot of eyebrows, Ty Pence from St. Joe Ogden. That was a kid that had a lot of buzz. So you've got some momentum going. Talk just a little bit about your high school recruiting efforts. You kind of have to get that snowball rolling in a good way, and it seems like you're starting to develop that, Ryan.
Well, I think year one in a lot of ways can be the hardest in that regard, because what you're doing is you're going to a family and you're going into a living room here and recruiting a young man to a program that is not yet established and is not yet developed. So you're selling them on the vision that you have, and sometimes that it doesn't just come naturally for a human, that they're going to just naturally buy into it. They've got to
Right.
feel like a real connection there. And I think our staff did an unbelievable job connecting with these guys. And then I try not to screw it up. You know, we bring these guys to campus. You build a very organic relationship, and we couldn't be more excited. Those two guys, you know, first Mr. Basketball that Illinois State's had since 1992. Kai Pence was down to, you know, Wake Forest and Illinois State. That was a big get for us.
Huge.
We got a big guy from Ohio that nobody's talking about.
That.
He's going to be a monster in time here, and that's Chase Walker, 6'9", 300 pounds, and so yeah, couldn't be more excited about those guys. And I view it really, Q, as planting our roots as a program. I want guys that I want to hitch my wagon to, and like these dudes are going to be a part of really planting our roots as a program, and they got to be what we're about. And I'm very confident these three are.
Let's talk a little bit about the basketball games Sunday, games plural, because the women lead us off at 1 o'clock, the men at 3 o'clock. And before I get any further, what I'd first like to just say is a huge thank you to Illinois State, to Hugh, the men's program, the women's program. It was time to do this. I went to Illinois Wesleyan. I graduated in 1993. And all 4 years I was there, I always wondered, you know, why wouldn't we be playing Illinois State? That would be a fun game to play. And back in 1970, there was a little bad blood. Teams played for the last time January 13th, 1970. And since then, it's been taboo to even bring up. I talked to Ron Rose, I don't know, maybe it was 9 months ago. And he said, you know, Q, there's some momentum kind of building. And he mentioned developing a friendship with you. Yeah. And so talk, Ryan, how did this game come about? How did both parties come together and say it's time to do this from your perspective?
Yeah, sure. So this is really, you know, a conversation that started between Ron and I. And my approach was coming in here, I wanted to play my alma mater and give back to my alma mater in year one. And then I was very open to the idea of playing Illinois Wesleyan. Ron approached me. Truth of the matter is, he approached me at a recruiting event in Wisconsin last summer. And I said, Ron, it's crazy you would ask. I'm going to call you after the summer was over. I promise you. And I was thankful that he did. So Ron deserves the credit here. And I don't see any negatives, first of all, that would potentially ever come from this. You know, I think there's a notion in coaching circles like, man, what do you have to gain from this? What do you have to gain? You have everything to lose. And I just don't look at it that way. What I see is two things. Okay, number one, why are we doing this? This is rooted in respect. Okay, respect for Ron Rose, respect for Illinois Wesleyan, respect for their institution being a real key contributor and key part to our community, and a respect for the Division III athlete. I do feel responsibility, being a former D3 athlete, to shine light on that when I can. I'm a D1 guy. I was born and raised, like, I believe the DNA of it lies inside my chest as a coach and as a person and as a husband. I married my wife from a Division III institution in the College of Wooster. Well, my values were shaped at a Division III institution, and that's not always the easiest life, right? You're paying to go to school. You're not getting a scholarship. Right. NIL is virtually non-existent at the Division III level. You're not playing in front of packed houses every night. There's a love of the game that is required that I don't ever want to lose, you know, a real purity. And when I could shine light on that as a head coach at a Division I institution or wherever I'm coaching, I want to do that. So respect. Second is community. Okay. We've talked about this Bloomington-Normal community. You're well aware of it. Yeah. It's a special place, man.
It is.
It's a hidden gem. This is an unbelievable town to live in. This is a great region for basketball. There's a purity of the people here that I really enjoy. And it's important here, right? It's a part of this community. A big part of that is our sport, is sports in general. Yep. And I want to give back. I want to give back to our community, and I also I want to do right by the community. I do. I want to be a part of this thing, and I want to do right by the community. I want everything in this town to be vibrant, from businesses to, to some of the relationships that we may or may not have across town. And after 53 years, two institutions and two proud programs, men's and women's programs here, are now merging to play. I see only advantages. So I'm thankful that we can do it. Honored to be a part of it. And I think it is so cool that the women are playing as well. I think it's going to be such a cool event for our town and for young boys and girls in our town, families, alums. There's a lot of trash talking going on this week, jokingly. But man, I couldn't be more excited.
And you being a Division III alum from a really high level D3 school, my Titans aren't going to sneak up on you here. It's not like you're just going to roll the balls out Sunday. I think this is a unique year to play this because we have a boatload of size and athleticism. Like, we got some big dudes, coach. Like, we got some guys that a lot of times in these matchups, the D3 team is so small. But what do you know about the Titans? Certainly you're trying to get some kind of scouting report to play a game Sunday. What do you know about Ron Rose's team and kind of how you approach that game Sunday?
Yeah, I know the personnel coming into the game, just my raw knowledge wouldn't. I've gone to a practice over there. I went to a Ron Rose practice last summer and got to watch those guys and talk to them, and it validated exactly what I thought. They're extremely well coached. They got a toughness about them. They're all bought into winning. You can see why it's been such a consistent winning, high level winning program. And that's regardless of level, right? Like a winning program that's built over time, that repeats itself. Those don't grow on trees. So they've been doing things a certain way for a long time there, dating back to Denny Bridges and even when Ron was playing there, really highly successful teams. And of course, Jack Sikma. I know their point guard, Luke Yoder. We looked at him and recruited him a little bit when he transferred last year.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with some of their guys and their size that they have. I also know what a good Division III program looks like. Our guys right now, we haven't dove into our game preparations yet. We'll do that 3 days out. But I will say, not to any fault of their own, but our guys have no clue about how hard these dudes are going to play. They have no clue about how much this game will mean to them.
Yep.
And that's my job as a coach. I want to keep it in perspective. It's an exhibition game. Doesn't define us either way. I'm going to toggle with plenty of rotations and matchups. And, it's not going to look from a coaching standpoint exactly like a regular season game would. But I think there's an appropriate level of perspective that's required and understanding of, hey, man, this game hasn't been played for 53 years. They beat us the last time this game was played. And, our most visible alum, Doug Collins, is flying in to be here for this. So that should tell people, importance level from a historic standpoint. Like, I think that matters to some of those older guys. It does. It matters to some of those older guys. And I want to do right by the community, by our institution, and this is the right thing to do. And like I said, I think it's a great thing, and it'll be great for both men's and women's programs.
What's cool is in that game, January 13th, 1970, freshmen weren't able to play then. The governing body, I guess it was the NCAA. Doug Collins played in the JV game against Illinois Wesleyan, which, isn't that amazing to think a guy who played in the building that night on the JV team, that's a whole nother story, right? Because he was the #1 pick in the NBA draft 3 years later, but he was in the building and he'll be in the building. I had no idea he was coming. I was hoping he would, but isn't that kind of cool?
Oh, it's very cool. And Doug's told me they lost that game too.
I wasn't going to mention that. I kind of knew that. I didn't want to throw that out.
You knew that, CQ. You're trying to, ease into this,
Yeah,
you know.
right.
They swept us that night. They swept us that night. So, you know, Tom Gramkow, I'm assuming he'll be in the house too.
I hope
And,
so.
you know,
I hope he's
that
there.
I've seen some footage of that. And I actually, I heard the radio call of that. I lean into that stuff, man. Like, you know, that was 53 years ago.
Right.
Let's pause and celebrate. Like, we're playing this game again in this town. That's a pretty cool thing. And I think Illinois State was a Division II program at that time as
Yeah,
well. So certainly times have changed. Like, let's put all that aside. Uh,
exactly.
this is a good thing on a Sunday afternoon that is gonna be great for basketball in our town. And when it comes to that stuff, I'm a sap. Like, I'm a old school guy.
Right.
I run to that, and so I love it. And I'm thankful that our women's coaches were just as
Yeah.
receptive to it as well. You know, Kristen Gillespie, she didn't have to do that, and you know, Maya Smith was she was awesome. She's been, you know, she's been there. She's so well respected as well. Or like her and Ron, and they have some coaches over there with long tenure, football, baseball, women's and men's basketball. Like, it's impressive. And so yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
You know, what's also cool is you think about as exhibitions get going this weekend and all the basketball games that'll be played this weekend, how many would have two programs playing each other that both have an NBA first round pick and a Naismith Hall of Fame? So you've got Doug Collins and Jack Sikma, their alma maters, playing. I can't think that there's that many matchups around the country where people could say that, right, Ryan? I mean, I'm not going to dig it up, but am I safe in that?
There's probably not. You're right, Q. I think you're exactly right. Yeah, there's some pretty cool storylines and some history and tradition that is very unique for sure. And yeah, it's you're exactly right. It's pretty special.
Well, I've appreciated the time, and again, just from Titan Nation, thank you so much to our friends at the Redbirds, to you, to everyone in your athletic department. As you know, being a D3 guy, getting this kind of game when you're a D3 program is a huge deal. It's just a huge
Sure.
deal, and it means a lot. And it's time to do this. It's been plenty of years, and we've enjoyed the Tom Gramkow footage. And but it's time to play the game. I'd like to leave you with the final thoughts here on the QCast, Ryan. So you've got Redbird fans tuning in, Titans. You have Bloomington-Normal residents tuning in. What would you like to leave everyone with today here on the QCast?
Well, I just, you know, I kind of reiterate maybe what I've said earlier. And you know, first of all, no need to thank me or us. This is rooted in respect and community, and no more, no less. And we're doing this game for the right reasons. It's a very cool opportunity, and you know, two proud traditions. Let's be honest here. Like, these are very proud programs and proud traditions, and I think that's pretty rare that you have those on different levels in the same town. So we're you know, this game won't define either program, but it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm going to lean into that. I want our kids to have fun with it. It's going to be a heck of a lot better atmosphere than if we were playing a normal exhibition game. And I just see nothing but advantages from playing that this year. And then if we're able to win, I will gladly sign a contract to play the game again in 53 years from now. So, I told Ron that. We spoke at a luncheon today, and I told him that in front of the group. And
That's awesome.
yeah, he was laughing. So, but no, it's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm thankful to be head coach here at Illinois State and be able to do that.
Well, again, I know that you guys would rather beat Bradley and we'd rather beat Augustana, but it's going to be a wonderful environment Sunday. Encourage everybody to come out. I'm sure there's still some tickets available, so let's really fill up CEFCU Arena. That should be a blast. Also, from a D3 standpoint, kudos on all of your success. We are all rooting for the Redbirds. Look forward to maybe saying hello to you on Sunday. I'm flying up from Dallas. Wouldn't miss
That's
it.
great, Q.
Yeah,
Great.
I'll
That's
be
awesome,
there.
man.
Would not miss it. Hope to say hi. Folks, that is Ryan Pedon. He's the head men's basketball coach at Illinois State University. Good luck to the Redbirds. Titans at Redbirds Sunday, 3 p.m. on the men's side. The women are first at 1. We'll see everyone there. Coach, thank you so much. We'll see you Sunday.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, Q.